What's up, ladies and gentlefucks? It's your boy Jordan. And what an anticlimactic way for us to end the year, right? The craziness that happened Monday night with what was going to be a huge game for fantasy and for real football purposes, with the Bills and the Bengals brought to a halt with Damar Hamlin's injury. Thankfully, he's all right. So we can talk about football and the effects on football in our league a little bit more freely here. And it's worth noting how it kind of affected our league. I mean, thankfully there wasn't really, much in the way of a change in who won because of how we decided to do things, which I think was most fair for closure for everybody, and it didn't flip any scoreboards or anything like that in any way. So nothing really changed, but at the same time, we still had to watch with a little bit of bated breath, I guess. Um, but to me, this just kind of puts the proper capstone on what this year has been, which is just everything turned on its fucking head. I mean, it was absolutely nutty how this year went. And I feel like I've said that almost every year as this has gone on. There's more entropy, more change, more crazy stuff going on in the real world and football and fantasy. It all comes together in different ways. So I'm just going to do kind of a recap, just from top to bottom of our league. Of course, we're going to go over our who won the championship officially now. Um, what we have in store coming up in the league in the future, things that we're talking about. I will say that these things have not been finalized as far as things that I'll discuss, but they're ideas, and I think that it's good to bring it to the table. Discuss it, see what pros, cons, thoughts we have, because things don't have to start right away. This is a marathon, it's not a sprint, and I think that it's at least something that we can all consider. Also, go over some stats specific to our league for our standings and also for different positional points and how they ended up with our point rules, which is different than a lot of other leagues in different ways as far as bonuses and how we weight different things. So let's go through it. First and foremost, I think that we need to start with our Super Bowl 13 winner, our champ, our first worst to first. Say that 5 times fast. Sahid, congratulations, my brother. Very happy for you. Officially, you won. I know that I put the official score up there before, but you already had it in the bag. Definitely proud of you, man. Definitely um, not lost on me that the champ has Burrow and Austin Eckler on his team. Those names do sound familiar. So, lesson to those, like I said, trading is always a risk, whether you trade or don't trade. There can be a benefit either way because if Sahid wouldn't have pulled the trade, and trust me, he was close to pulling the trigger the other way and not completing that three-way trade at a couple of different points, it would have been a bad move for him. So not trading would have been bad for him. Trading was bad for me this time. Can always flip. Everybody is going to have some sort of trade. They win, lose. Sometimes both win, sometimes both lose. Shit happens. It's fantasy. It's all a game that we're playing. So we do the best we can. We read the tea leaves, and ultimately, 11 out of 12 of us fail. But this year, the one of us that won was also the one that failed the worst last year. And that is why I think he deserves an extra congratulations on that. Because it is hard to turn it around. Hopefully Lewis can get that turned around. It was only a couple of years ago. He actually, I think, made the playoffs or came close to it. You'll get back there, brother. Just stick with it. All right. So from there, that does mean that he joins the Dynasty Champs. Now, what we are basically floating here, and this is an idea that I've kind of developed and discussed with Gus, and I think that we are going to implement it. We're still ironing out some details, so this is not legitimate starting, right away, or that it's definitely happening. But what we have decided that would be a good idea is a dynasty belt. And what that means is, and what you have to do to be a dynasty in this league is win multiple championships. So, sure, there's a chance that everybody might win multiple championships if this league goes that long. Hopefully, everybody does, and then maybe we raise the bar. But for now, we have 4 teams, 4 people that would qualify: myself, Manny, Gus, and now Sahid, with 2 championships each. And what it will be is the dynasty belt is going to start with Sahid. Obviously, he is the most recent champ. He is the one that will be starting next year with the Dynasty belt. What will happen though is every time Sajid plays somebody else who is in that dynasty group, whether it's Gus, Manny, or me, that belt is up for grabs. Now we're not going to change hands physically every single time that a game comes up because obviously it's going to happen multiple times. Let's say he plays me first. Let's say I win. And then I go and play Gus, and then Gus wins. And then Gus plays Manny, and Manny wins. Manny plays Sajid. Whoever ends up with the belt at the end is going to basically win the belt for that year, and they'll get it at the start of the next league year or whenever we give out trophies. Again, still ironing some things out, and then the reward is likely going to be the extra $100 that the last place person is going to be paying into next year's pot, and that is the punishment basically. I believe there is an option there, so if it doesn't work out and Lewis is not planning on paying the extra and he wants to wear a tutu because he knows we're all going to think he's sexy, and he wants us to hit on him and everything and give him some good luck, pinch his ass and all that, we might have to think up something else. But going forward, I think the punishment is just going to be $100 extra, basically double buy-in for the last place person, and then that extra $100 or that $100 is going to go to the dynasty champ throughout the year. Now that's the idea. Again, it's still a work in progress, nothing set in stone. Give us your thoughts. It's the off season, the fantasy off season. So why not? Why not discuss shit, right? All right. So now that we've gone through that, I want to go through the rest of the places and where everybody finished. This is official. I actually made sure that all the games, and I know not everybody was setting their lineups, and that's fine, but in general, it should be about right. I set up the rest of the bracket to make sure it ironed out to where 1st through 12th is correct. So Saeed's first, of course, then Manny, second place, runner up. His first loss in the Super Bowl, but still another Super Bowl appearance. That is his third. Gus came in third. He won the third place game versus Sam. That game was not affected by Monday Night Football at all. Sam, of course, then was fourth. Then Jeff rounds out the top five. Alex at 6. Carlos at 7. I was number 8, first team out because I won the loser bracket. I did hold on against Hector, who came in 9th. So that means I get my choice of pick next year. We had also made that change. So yes, I could pick first overall. I could pick 12th. And trust me, I will be considering it because I do mean it. Some of my best years have been when I picked later. But it depends on how the top board and how my rankings will shake out. And we'll see what happens. But Hector is 9th, Kyle 10th, Joel 11th, and Lewis at 12th. We already knew that because he had lost the last place game in the first round of the loser bracket. So, how did the positions end up for us? I'm going to go by QB, running back, wide receiver, defense, kicker, and then the top 12 flex. The others will be top 6, top half of the league. Then I'm going to go over some other things. I'm going to give you some biggest win streaks, biggest losing streaks in the league this year, hottest and coldest starts, hottest and coldest finishes, and then a couple of other things we're considering for the future here just to recap it and get you all ready. All right. QB. Top QB this year was Patrick Mahomes. Who would have thought he loses Tyreek Hill and still leads the way? He's absolutely amazing. Can't say anything else. He beat out Josh Allen, so there you go. Josh Allen was number 2, 447. And keep in mind how hard it is to beat out Josh Allen because of how many yards he gets with his legs. He did have a few down games by his standards, but still to outscore Josh Allen is huge. Hurts came in 3rd, even missing some time at the end of the year. Burrow, 4th at 401. Fields at 5th with 337. And Geno Smith with 328. Again, that was Patrick Mahomes with 464 points leading the way. Second place was 447 by Allen. Running back. It hurts. Austin Eckler, the top running back of the year. Could have just held on to him. Who would have thought that doing nothing would have been the better call there. But again, shit happens. Can't undo the past. Eckler with 388 points. CMC still upheld his draft value, 366. Josh Jacobs, 351. Derrick Henry, 335. Nick Chubb, 306. And Saquon came back strong with 298 points. Wide receiver Justin Jefferson, 370 points. Tyreek Hill, second place in our league, 356. Devontae Adams at 346. Stephon Diggs 321. AJ Brown 300. And CeeDee Lamb at 298. All right. What about defense? Well, you know what? Actually, let's go to flex first. So I'm going to go in order of flex. Remember, this is running back, wide receiver, or tight ends. Spoiler alert, only one tight end made it. Pretty sure you can guess who that is. But just to give you an idea of how running back versus wide receiver works when they're versus each other in the top 12. So Austin Eckler is first. Top running back is number one. Top wide receiver is number two, Justin Jefferson. Then CMC, then Tyreek Hill. So again, 2-2 so far. Then Josh Jacobs, then DA, Devontae Adams, then Derrick Henry, then Stephon Diggs. So again, we're 4-4 so far. Then we get our first tight end, Travis Kelce, and then we got Nick Chubb, and then AJ Brown, and then CeeDee Lamb and Saquon. So it's about even with a tight end thrown in there, a tight end that of course easily outscores second place from then on out from tight end. So but he's an outlier. But everywhere else was pretty much even. You had 6 and 6. CeeDee Lamb and Saquon tied for the 12th spot. So all of those top ones got in, and they just kind of alternated spaces. So it just goes to show that we do have some pretty comparative and even scoring in this league when it comes to weighting those positions. Just about how deep it goes, that is very different. So after we get through that, let's go through the defenses. Top defense of the year, the Patriots. This is why you don't draft defenses, folks. The Cowboys came in second, but Patriots had 217 points on the year. Cowboys 205. Then we have Philly with 192, San Fran 191, Bills at 164, and Jags at 158. Top kickers. Carlson from Vegas with 158. Literally, the spread here is so thin. The top, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 is a spread of 3 points. 158, 157, 156, and 155. It's Carlson from Vegas, Tucker from Baltimore, Mayer from Dallas, and Myers from Seattle. Then we got Koo from Atlanta with 145 and Pinheiro with Carolina 142. So that goes into some of the future things that I wanted to talk about. We talked about the Dynasty Belt. Now we've kind of discussed throwing around possibly getting rid of kicker or defense or possibly both. I've let my feelings be known. I'd be fine with getting rid of both of them. I know others wanted one or the other, or just leave it. Either way, it's fine. As long as we're all playing by the same rules, it's really not a big deal. But it's worth thinking about because, again, it doesn't really mirror real football as well as some of the other positions. I get it. Fantasy does not. You're going to have good fantasy players that are horrible. They're not horrible, but they're just not on good teams, or they're actually not good comparatively in the real NFL. But it's a lot more skewed in defense and kicker. So it's worth a thought about how we want to weight it, if we want to have it, if we want to try it without one or the other or both. But let's bounce ideas around. Let's keep talking about it. We don't have to make a change. Keep in mind, we can do nothing and keep talking about it if we don't come to a consensus, because that's ultimately the goal. But keep in mind that as long as we are all playing by the same rules, it's not that big of a deal. All right. Going forward here, I wanted to go over a couple other cool things that I found. I wanted to go over the biggest win streaks of the year. Biggest one was in the regular season, at least, was Gus. Now, he did tie Sajid. Sajid stretched over the playoffs as well, but they both had 7 wins in a row, which is tied for the top. Gus had his from week 5 through 11. Sajid then took from week 11 through 17. So that means from week 5 through the end of the year, there is at least going in that whole realm every week from week 5 through week 17. And I wonder if it even works out before then. Either Sajid or Gus won a game that week. So it was pretty much a guarantee that one or the other was winning from there on out because they both had damn good teams. Biggest losing streak, believe it or not, was not Lewis. His biggest one was 5. Now he had 2 of those. So you could argue that, of course, his year was worse, but Kyle actually had the biggest losing streak. He had a 7-game losing streak. I can promise you, Kyle doesn't give a flying fuck. I mean, he does. He loves this league, don't get me wrong, but he's probably not as concerned in the immediate right now because he did win Willie's league, and I'm not sure if you all were aware, but that was I think a $250 buy-in. So he got like over $2,000 out of that. So he's taking us all out to eat. He said Burns is a really good place. We can get whatever we want. He's just gonna blow the money on us because fuck it, why not, right? But no, for real, congrats, Kyle. But as far as in this league, though, you fucking sucked. But don't worry, there were others with you there as well. But you just had a bad middle part of the year, 7 games in a row there. And then I started thinking about who had the hottest and coldest starts and finishes. So the hottest starts, and then we're only talking about regular season here for both. Hector and Alex both started 3-0. Since then, Hector only had 3 wins. Alex did have 4 and lost in the playoffs. Hector did not make the playoffs, of course. But it just goes to show you, hot starts does not necessarily mean hot finishes. And there were others that did have good starts too, but nobody else started with 3 wins. Even Sam and Sajid both had losses in their first 3 games. Coldest start was easy. Lewis started 0-5. Then he got that little bitty win over Carlos, and then went 0-5 again. So that was the coldest start by far, pretty much 1-10. All right. Hottest finish. Now this one's easy because it was Sahid. And this is again regular season only, but he lost in week 10 and he didn't lose again. He went 4-0 to finish the year and then went 3-0 in the playoffs. Remember, only the top seed got a bye. That was Sam. He had to win his opening round, and he did. So he went 7-0. He did it the hard way, and he damn sure, eked it out there. Coldest finish was a tie between me and Joel. We both, and I was going from week 10 on. And that was also the tiebreaker for Sahid. Sahid won his last 4. There were some others that were 4-1, but they had lost sooner to the regular season than Sahid did. Same thing with me and Joel. I lost. I had a win in my second to last week. Joel had a win in week 11 and then didn't win again. So he finished the year worse by my count because he went 0-3 to finish the year. And then in the playoffs, or in the loser bracket, he lost all his matches. I won all mine. So it's a tie between me and Joel, but technically Joel's was worse, but neither one of us feel too great about it. So that's all, folks. It was a great year. I appreciate all of you. I know it didn't go everybody's way. At least 11 out of 12 of us it didn't. So congrats to Sahid for being the 1 out of 12 that won it all. But for the rest of us, it's back to the drawing board. And Zahid has to defend his title now, too, because we still have never had a back-to-back champ. So keep in mind the things for the future. Keep in touch through the app. Let's keep talking about football, talk about the league, the future things we want to do, talk about real NFL, things going on in the offseason. I like staying in touch with you guys. Another thing to keep in mind is the Dynasty League that is coming up. We talked about the Dynasty Belt. We talked about possibly defense and kicker, thinking about changing that up. Dynasty League is going to be something different. I will be getting that started up as soon as I can start going through the options for the starter league. Again, remember, we're doing a 1-year auction style draft, and the reason why is so that everybody has a chance at any player as long as they bid for it. A little bit different. But it's just for 1 year, and it's going to be 2 QBs with an option for a third. So basically 2 QBs required and a third as a possible super flex. You don't have to. Winner of that league for that first year will then be able to pick where they draft in the Dynasty Startup. Second place, pick second, etc. And I'm also considering, so that way it'll be easy for everybody to follow and not have to start sit decisions and all that. Just managing your team, making it a best ball type of season. You're going to be able to trade and do all of that, but your best lineup counts. It also helps in regards to tanking. So I'm trying to go through all those options, see what they allow, and we're going to do it through Sleeper. So I'll be getting your email addresses soon. I'll get all that set up. We'll probably do the auction draft online sometime in July to August. I don't want to wait till everybody's drafting their other leagues, so we might do it a little bit earlier. But I will keep you all in the loop, so stay in tune. And from then, I hope you all have a good start to 2023. Hope the Bucks somehow catch fire, win the Super Bowl, but at the very least, I hope we have some great real football games, and I hope you all have some good off seasons as well. Peace, punch, Captain Crunch, folks.